The email comes in at 9:18 p.m. He's sitting on the couch, TV still playing in the background, not really watching, just letting something fill the silence. The subject line is short, payment reminder. He already knows what it is. Still, he opens it. Minimum due, $146. Total balance, $4,872. He stares at it for a second. Not shocked, not stressed, just familiar. This isn't new. He scrolls a little. There's nothing surprising there. Same numbers, slightly higher than last month, or maybe about the same. Hard to tell anymore. He locks his phone. A few seconds pass. Then he picks it up again, opens a different app, something lighter, something distracting. And within a minute, the email is gone from his mind. Not because it's solved, just because it's manageable. At least, it feels that way. And that's where this story starts. Because nothing feels urgent, nothing feels broken, but something is quietly staying the same. And over time, that matters more than it seems. The next day looks normal. Morning coffee, commute, work emails, lunch at the usual place. His salary is decent, around $4,200 a month after taxes. Not struggling, not thriving, just steady. Rent takes $1,400, utilities, internet, phone, another $300. Groceries land somewhere near $400, depending on the month. Then there's everything else: streaming subscriptions, gym membership, occasional dinners out, small online purchases that barely register at the time. And of course, the debt. 2 credit cards, one with a balance just under $5,000, the other around $2,200. Minimum payments combined, roughly $220. He pays them every month, on time, no missed payments. Which, on paper, looks responsible. And in many ways, it is. By the end of the month, there's usually a few hundred left. Sometimes saved, sometimes spent. Depends on how the month feels. Nothing extreme, no big financial mistakes, no dramatic overspending. Just a series of normal decisions, repeated over and over. And that's what makes it easy to ignore, because nothing feels like a problem. But this is where things quietly begin to take shape. At first, everything seems balanced. Income comes in, expenses go out, debt gets paid, slowly but consistently. There's no crisis, no breaking point. And that's exactly why the pattern goes unnoticed, because the system isn't designed to feel urgent. It's designed to feel sustainable. Minimum payments create a kind of comfort. They keep things stable. They reduce pressure. They make the situation feel under control. But there's a hidden detail. The balance doesn't really move, not in a meaningful way. Some months it goes down, other months it creeps back up. A purchase here, a trip there, a few unexpected expenses. Nothing dramatic, just enough to keep the number alive. And over time, something subtle happens. Debt stops feeling temporary. It becomes part of the background, like rent, like utilities, just another monthly line item. And most people don't notice this part, because nothing changes fast enough to demand attention. But that slow consistency is what shapes the next 5 years. Let's stay with the same numbers, about $7,000 total debt, average interest rate, let's say around 20%. Minimum payments around $220 a month. Now here's where it gets interesting. If nothing changes, if he keeps paying roughly that amount and occasionally adds small new charges, in 5 years, the balance doesn't disappear. It lingers. Because a large portion of each payment goes towards interest, not the actual debt. So even after paying, month after month, year after year, a big part of what he owed is still there. Now zoom out slightly. $220 a month. That's $2,640 a year. Over 5 years, that's $13,200. Paid, but not fully resolved. And this is where the disconnect lives, because it never feels like spending $13,000. It feels like small, manageable payments, spread out, quiet, almost invisible. And yet the long-term effect is very real, not dramatic, but persistent. And that persistence is what shapes everything around it. There's a reason this pattern holds. It's not about a lack of discipline. It's not about bad decisions. It's about how normal the situation feels. Everyone around him lives similarly. Same subscriptions, same occasional spending, same approach to debt. It's not seen as a problem. It's just part of adult life. There's also a mental trade-off happening. The minimum payment buys something: peace of mind. It removes urgency. It creates breathing room. And that breathing room is valuable, but it comes at a cost that isn't immediately visible, because while the pressure is gone, so is the motivation to change anything. And then there's lifestyle. Nothing extravagant, but also not restricted. He doesn't feel like he's falling behind. He can still go out, still travel occasionally, still enjoy life, which makes the situation feel justified, reasonable, even balanced. But this is where it gets subtle. Because the goal isn't to feel bad, the goal is to notice what stays the same, and how that shapes what's possible later. 5 years pass. Not dramatically, just steadily. Work continues, salary increases slightly, expenses rise a bit too. Life moves forward. But the debt? It's still there. Maybe lower, maybe slightly higher, but not gone. And that creates a quiet limitation. Not a visible one, not something that shows up in daily life, but something that sits underneath decisions. A job opportunity comes up in a different city. Interesting role, better long-term potential. But the move feels risky because there's no real financial cushion. The debt makes things tighter than they appear. So he hesitates and eventually stays. Another moment. A friend starts a small business, invites him to join early. Low pay at first, high uncertainty, but also potential. Again, the same hesitation, because stability matters more when there's something owed. And this is the part most people don't talk about. Debt doesn't just affect money, it affects options. Quietly, gradually, without ever announcing itself as the reason. It doesn't block opportunities directly, it just makes them harder to choose. Now compare that to someone else. Similar income, similar lifestyle, but one difference. They see debt differently, not as a normal background expense, but as something that competes with time. Because every payment isn't just money, it's time already spent working, and time that can't be used elsewhere. So their focus shifts, not towards restriction, but towards space, financial space, less obligation, more flexibility. They still spend, still live normally, but they notice the long-term shape of things. They see how small patterns repeat, and how those patterns either open options or quietly reduce them. There's no urgency, no extreme behavior, just a different way of observing. And over time, that observation changes the outcome. Not overnight, but steadily. That same evening feeling comes back. Another notification. Another payment reminder. Same couch, same quiet room. But something is slightly different now. Not the numbers, not the situation, just the awareness. Because the question isn't, is this manageable? It always has been. The real question is, what stays the same if nothing changes? And more importantly, what does that shape over time? There's no urgency here, no pressure to act, just a clearer picture of how small, consistent patterns quietly define the next 5 years. This is not financial advice, just an observation. If this helped clarify something you've been noticing in your own life, consider subscribing.